Hi folks, welcome to the Gaming Guillotine, where I execute the poorly executed. My name's Guillotine, and speaking of poorly executed, how's everyone's 2021 doing so far? In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and check the news for a period of no more than 30 seconds. Wow, that was horrendous. I can actively feel my health degrading. But you know what's the perfect thing to counter my health degrading? Some good video games. Which means I guess I don't need this today. So obviously, if you read today's title, you'll know that the video game I'm reviewing today is Journey by that game company.
What game company?
What did you say, Charles?
What game company?
No, that game company.
What game company?
I just told you.
No, you didn't.
I did too.
I still don't know.
What?
That game company that made Journey.
Exactly.
What?
You literally just told me that game company.
I did?
Yes.
Well, who is it?
That game company.
Which one?
That game company.
Who?
The people who made Journey.
I'm gonna stab you.
Please do.
What?
What?
So anyway, Journey. Released in 2012, it's what I think is classified as an adventure platformer. It was initially released on the PlayStation 3 and later ported to the PlayStation 4 and PC as a timed Epic Store exclusive. However, in a very belated celebration of the liberation from Epic Jail, I'll be reviewing it and thoroughly going over why it's one of my favorite games of all time. One reason to start off is the resonance of story and knowledge of the world being synchronized with the in-game character and the player. What I mean by that is when the game starts, you're given some brief imagery, which looks amazing, by the way, and then BAM! There you are, just some random figure plopped into the desert. No idea of who you are, no idea how you got there. Here is where you're given one of the few bits that's probably the closest thing to a tutorial. Using as simple a display as possible, it introduces the camera controls and in doing so, directs your gaze to a nearby sand dune. After establishing how to move similarly to before, you head to the dune and begin to climb. As you near the top, the camera pans out to reveal a heavenly light emanating from between a split peak of a faraway mountain, along with the game's title. Journey.
Just a quick aside here, I genuinely appreciate how they made it so that the PC controls could be modified so that you can use the analog sticks to modify the camera instead of having to use the god-awful PS4 motion support.
Within mere minutes, Journey's minimalist methodology has managed to mesmerize by making the motivation and means to move easy and accessible. In fact, I'd contend that Journey is a great game to show someone with minimal gaming experience if they are interested in the hobby. Once you've got movement down and progress through the title screen, you are immediately presented with decrepit ruins that you move through to find mysterious handkerchiefs floating in the breeze. Another button prompt and you learn how to draw the cloth to you and gain your jumping and hovering ability.
It's this tutorial that makes me believe that Journey is an excellent entry point into the hobby. For a comparison, let's take a few seconds from the average multiplayer match on an online video game these days.
Even just trying to keep up with the information being displayed on your average first-person shooter HUD will overwhelm the average person who's not acquainted with how to play a video game. Then take into account things like movement, combat, and inventory management. But the simplicity of Journey is not why I love this game. It's the emotional weight that it can deliver with such simple mechanics, but we'll get to that later. After some time getting used to movement, you come to more ruins that you're required to climb and eventually reach a checkpoint that also serves as Journey's main means of story delivery. And having seen what boils down to some simple images, the gate opens up and you move forward. But what's that in the distance? Is that another person? Yes, when playing this game online, you have the chance of coming across other random players, which makes the game co-op if you choose to play that way. Inversely, you can entirely ignore any other person you come across. This is a matter that strictly comes down to player preference, and for me it becomes a bit of an analysis on the kind of player you are. The first time I ever encountered another player, I wanted to explore the world with them, and from the way that they behaved, I gathered that they shared the same sentiment. And so together we went on this trip through the vibrant yet desolate wasteland, kind of like American shopping centers during a COVID-19 outbreak. On your way, you'll encounter ruins that vastly increase in scope, giving a glimpse at a once great civilization with scenes and vistas that, I shit you not, give me chills to look at in spite of viewing them several times over, only made all the more impactful by knowing that I was sharing the experience with another person. Speaking of elements that gave me chills, the soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal. The ambience that sets and adjusts with how you experience the game is masterful. From the subtle string work and light percussion to accentuate moments of tension, all the way to masterful crescendos at the moment of maximum empowerment and elation. Austin Wintory sets an ambience that amplifies the experience at every turn. While the audio, scenery, visuals, level structure, and world building are absolutely beautiful, the closest thing that I would have to a gripe is in the gameplay. It's very basic, but let me qualify the statement that saying that doesn't mean it's bad. If anything, I think an overly complex gameplay system would detract from the beauty that this game portrays. Simple does not mean boring. There are a few sections with puzzles that boil down to go to the place and press the button or look at the thing, but to me these come down to actually assisting the world building to see all these things in place. It gives more credence that advanced civilizations had easily usable mechanisms rather than overly ornate puzzle systems to do something as simple as access a room.
Now to give you a fair warning, I'm going to be starting to talk about story elements from here, so from this point onward it's going to get spoilery.
At the end of each level, you are presented with static images that portray the civilization that came before you, and that you spend your time navigating the ruins of. These static images are a prime example of what I see as the storytelling guideline of showing instead of telling. However, they go a step further with their efforts in using video games to experience rather than show. For instance, the very early levels show that you'll be coming across various kinds of mysterious cloth that seem to have the powers that enabled the society that came before with its amazing mechanisms. Later, the sections that introduce the horrific machines that attack you on sight are displayed as weapons of war that were used to destroy the society that existed before your arrival. Even if you don't pay attention to the static image segments, scripted moments in the levels and ominous shifts in lighting and sound do the job of informing you of hazards to come. This is lore and world building at its finest, in my opinion. At no point is there a text box or an assistant character required to tell you that these things are bad. You see it for yourself. This element too, though, can also change depending on whether or not you're playing the game in co-op or singularly. With a companion, it becomes an effort to see each other through, becoming fearful for not your own well-being, but the companion that is one of the very few means of comfort in this world that has evolved from a mysterious and beautiful backdrop to become actively hostile towards you and wants to eliminate you at every turn. And this method of foreshadowing continues all the way up until the last levels. It shows you that while the journey you've experienced so far has been treacherous and exciting, the hardest part lays before you to reach your destination of the mysteriously lighted mountain. As you enter the final level, you know that not only are there going to be hostile entities trying to prevent your passing, but even Mother Nature herself is set to become an obstacle. All the while, you're struggling against snow, wind, and the prospect that you might be attacked if you're not careful. As you go through the game, if you're open to it, you may even learn something about yourself. In this section, as you ascend the final portions of the mountain, you come across one final place of refuge. In all my playthroughs of this game, I have never gone beyond this point without a companion, even if it means I have to wait. I've waited for upwards of half an hour before making the final ascent just so I can do so with a companion. One final warning. From this point on, I am outright discussing the very end of the game. If you want to experience it in full for yourself, skip to the timestamp on screen now. Resuming in 3, 2, 1. As you make your way through the passes and snowdrifts, even if you've only met on this level, there's the potential to bond on a basic level with this person that you've never met prior. You continue to struggle on, but you have your goal and you aim to achieve it. You persist, even as everything you've learned so far, in the form of your scarf, is stripped away. Then you die. But this, with so many other elements of the game, is also vital. Without this moment, then the final segment does not have the impact and power to make this a game that's left such an emotional imprint on me. Throughout my gaming career, I have encountered maybe 5 games that brought tears to my eyes. This one has done so on multiple occasions. Having been brought to the ultimate failure, you're given one last chance, and with it the ultimate success. You reach your destination in a crescendo of imagery and music that for me brings sheer elation. And as you reach the top of the mountain, you look on the vastness of what you've already overcome, and having experienced that with a companion makes it all the more touching.
To me, that game company has created nothing short of a masterpiece that brings out the best in people with the most minimal of interactions. I get that it's probably not for everyone, but I feel like that most video gamers should experience this game's conclusion at least once.
It's not a long game, clocking in at just around 2 hours on your average playthrough. However, in particularly disheartening and stressful times, I find this to be just the game to reinvigorate me, even if just a little. Granted, you can only ever experience something the first time once, but subsequent playthroughs have given me a different kind of joy. That of a guide, or of a mentor, showing someone how to get through a trying time. This becomes all the more poignant depending on how you interpret the story and the various elements of the world. But I may leave my interpretation of the story to another video, if anyone is interested.
So, yeah, that was my journey review. I hope I've piqued a few people's interest in this title, because not only is it good, but it's cheap. Coming in at around $10 or so, depending on the sale, whether you get it on Epic or Steam, or heck, a few months ago it was free on the PlayStation Network. And to be frank, given all the discourse and chaos that's been going on this past year, I think we could all use a little something joyous and relaxing. So, thanks for watching the Game in Guillotine, and until next time, keep your head on your shoulders.
Thank you everyone so much once again for watching. If you like my stuff, then subscribe and share it with a friend that you also think will like it. I've been gone for a while, I might be back, I'm not going to focus on that. Instead, just so a few people are aware, I'm also doing a podcast now. I'll post a link either on screen or in the description. I'm hopefully making a few changes, we'll see if they come to fruition, who knows. Later.